Can you hear? Okay. So I'm here at OrCam, which should be somewhere here or here. Can we get the presentation? Okay, it's going to come up. So what we do in OrCam, we're building a smart camera. Okay, so it's a camera that is fairly small. And you can put it in your pocket, like this. And the camera can see the world and interpret it. Okay, so it can figure out what it sees and tell you. Okay, it has a little bone conduction, so you put it on your glasses, and it tells you. It tells you what it sees. So why is it good, right? I can put it like this. I can put this in my pocket, and the camera will tell me. It'll say, you know, I see a bus, right? Or I see something. I see a person, right? So if I am dyslexic, for example, let's say I'm a small kid and I can't read very well, you know, I can hold a paper or a book and it'll read it for me, right? It can teach me how to read. And if I'm visually impaired, this thing can change my life, right? It can restore a lot of lost abilities. I can be productive again. I can overcome a lot of things I lost, right? And this is what we do. So last year I showed it here. How about someone else shows it this time? Yeah? Let's see, I need someone that has $1, like $1 bank, American dollars. All right, so what I'm going to do, we're going to try something that will probably work. I'm going to disconnect it, put it on an empty frame of glasses. Okay? So, you put this on. So the device can recognize products, and it can recognize faces, and it can read almost anything. So one of the things we already taught the device is how to recognize banknotes. So let's see that, I'll wake it up. You'll hear it speak. What is it? No, it's not working. We'll wait 1 second, and I'll tell you a bit more until it wakes up. In the 30 seconds we have, I'll tell you what happened to one of our customers. She went to her optometrist, and she went in and she told the guy, you know, I need new glasses. You know, these don't work anymore. I need new ones. The optometrist checked her, and he told her, you know, I have bad news for you. I can't give you any prescription glasses that will fix your sight. Your vision, you know, is no longer repairable by optics. And I have even worse news for you. In 2 or 3 years, you're going to see much, much less. You know, if anything, you're going to be blind completely. It's very likely, in 2 to 5 years. So, you know, she had to quit her job and stayed home, and she would cook for her husband until one day she found out that she had to open several cans of food until she can find the right one to cook. And then, you know, of course, that was a big shocker. But now she's our customer, and I'll show you her feedback in the next slide. But let's start a demo. Let's see. Okay, so the device is almost ready. I'm sorry about this. There we go. All right. Okay. So you have $1, so hold it in front of you. All right, show the device. Point at it. Okay. Let's try again. I'll help you. This is the first time. I'll hold it like this. It'll be easier. Here. Show it. It takes, okay.
$20.
$20. Is that true? Anyone else wants to try? You have something to read? No one wants to try. Do you have something to read? Daniel, here, try this. Try this. Sorry. Do it again.
OrCam.
Okay.
Speaker.
Okay, do it again.
Dr. Yonatan Wexler.
Okay. Do you have something else? Maybe, does anyone else want to read anything? You want to try? It might be hard. Some things take a bit, time to learn, but you know, how to use the device, but it can generally read anything. So, you know, let's see.
Monetization.
Is that true? Yeah? Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm here later today if you guys want to try. So we created a device that has a lot of functionalities. So here we showed, that's plenty of time, thank you. I showed you how it can recognize things like banknote, which it already has. It can read almost anything. You can teach it, right? It's a personal device. You take it with you. It can learn how to recognize your friends. And if you have, various personal items that you want to use. So you just teach the device. Or if you want to go, let's say, you want to go to the supermarket, you can teach the device, well, this is the corner where you need to turn right? And everything happens in a few seconds. And one of the difficulties we had is to have a user interface that is so easy that everyone can use. So, because there's so many functionalities, you don't want to have a mode where the device tries to find the bus number. And as you saw in the demonstration, you just have to point. And the device sees that you're pointing at something, and it figures out the context, right? If you're reading a newspaper, it'll read the newspaper, right? So let me just show you the email we got a few months ago from the woman I told you about. And just to make it easy for you, I'll read it for you. Hello, Liat. Liat is one of our customer service representative. The first wonderful thing in my life is my husband. The second wonderful thing is my children. The third wonderful thing is my grandchildren. The final wonderful thing cannot be bested, and that is the OrCam. I experienced it at home today with my trainers, and the teaching was superb. To think that now I can read a book, newspaper, magazine, or recipe that had been in my file box for 50 years is somewhat overwhelming. This experience confirms my feeling about OrCam is one of the finest companies with which we had ever had the dealings. My thanks and gratitude to you and all of your engineers and all the personal involvement in this project. Israel is known to continually present some of the finest technological achievements, and yours is among the very best examples. With much gratitude, our customer. So this is one of the, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm done.
Okay, thank you
unless
very
you have a
much.
question.
I would like to invite Guy Moshe to take his 5 minutes of glory on the stage. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Yair, and I'm an engineer in a laboratory in the Technion that deals with multimedia. As most speakers in this panel come from academia, they tell you about different innovations that are a result of research, of graduate research. They work with the PhD students and MSc students. But my talk will be a little unique because I'm going to talk about innovation with undergraduate students. We deal both with research and education. I'm also a PhD student, so I do some research. But we are able to innovate also with undergraduate students. So we are one of about 1,000 labs in our department, the Department of Electrical Engineering at the Technion. We deal with all areas of multimedia, speech, audio, image, video, and we do both research and education. And I'm going to talk about education and how you can innovate with education. So a project that students have to perform in their final year of studies is performed by 2 students and a graduate students, which is their supervisor. We perform it in our lab in the Technion. And the main goal of this project is to give the students a taste of engineering. Each project is something new, a new challenge, and we have about 50 different projects each year. Now, the main aim is to teach the students, but as you see, we have very nice results from these projects. We have a lot of cooperation with industry. This is some logos of companies we are currently working with, and there are many more in some stages. With some projects and with real prototype system. About 10% of them end with an academic paper in an international conference, so they compete with researchers from all over the world and get into these conferences, and some also end with patents. So how we do this? So there are 3 patches in order to initiate innovation. And I will give an example of a project for every one of them. So the first one is some project that are inspired by research. So one example is from 4 years ago. This is a project performed in our lab, and the result was a prototype system of 3D image reconstruction in an embedded system. So what you see here is a standard webcam and a very small projector called the Pico projector. And this is a prototype system that can get you a 3D image like Kinect, but in very small size. So this is inspired by research of Professor Ron Kimmel. And actually, currently, Intel has a similar technology. A company that he co-founded, Professor Ron Kimmel, was acquired by Intel, and now they have a new camera called RealSense, which is going to go in all new laptops and tablets. And this is a prototype that came 4 years before. Okay, and here you see real results of 3D reconstruction for this camera, and it can acquire 4 images in a second. So this was performed, the prototype system that undergraduate students created because it was inspired by research in the Technion. But the system was designed and created by these students. Another patch for innovation is the cooperation with industry. Sometimes industry comes with really interesting problems, and this gives us a drive to innovate. So this is a little oldie, but very nice example. Cooperation with Soran, which is now part of CSR. If you look back 6 years ago, still cameras were still very popular, and one of the cool features there is to add video into these still cameras. Now the problem is that if you acquire video in a still camera and you do some zoom in and zoom out, you hear the motor of the zoom inside the microphone acquires the zoom in and out. So I can demonstrate this. Here's some audio acquired from still camera, acquiring video with zoom in and zoom out.
The drunkard is a social outcast. The
So what you-
drunkard is a social outcast.
So what you hear is someone talking and the motor in the background. And we developed in a project, in this undergraduate project, a technique to remove this background noise of the motor. And this is the
The
result.
drunkard is a social outcast. The
So
drunkard is a social outcast.
No background noise. And this was also inspired by research of Professor Israel Cohen, which is part of our lab. The last path for innovation is just to challenge the students. If you give them a nice challenge, usually you are surprised with the results. And 2 of my students, I just tell them, let's do something cool with augmented reality. And we started to sketch few things, write different things, and the result is a real prototype system of an augmented reality pinball game, which was demonstrated on stage earlier today to Mr. Yossi Vad and Mr. Shimon Peres, and he's here in the maker's track, so you can try it yourself. And here's a video that shows this prototype system in action. So you can play this game in hall number 20 on the other side of So the moral here is that you can innovate with undergraduate students. You just have to challenge them and give them an interesting problem. Sometimes the lack of technical knowledge, let them think outside the box and surprise you. And creativity and motivation is not less important than knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Guy Hoffman. Come to the stage. Thank you very much.
Hi. So yesterday I was at a conference that I organized called Robots in Human Society. I design personal robots, robots that interact with people. And as part of this, I organize a conference every year of how robots and humans are going to live together. And our guest last night was Jean-Paul Lemond, one of the biggest researchers. You can't hear? One of the biggest researchers in robotics. And he just came back from a United Nations panel where he was trying to think what we should do about killing robots, like robots that kill people, and how we might want to regulate them. I know people are scared that robots are going to kill them, and you should be, because robots will be starting to kill people very soon. And we're trying to think how to regulate them. And he said, there's a lot of robots for war, but why are there no robots for peace? And I thought that was an interesting question. And it just happens to be that we have started to develop a robot that might be thought of as a robot for peace. We have it right here. It's a little robotic companion that we're working on a research right now with my student Tamar, who's right here. And by the way, if you ever want to hire somebody in 1 year when she graduates, talk to me. You're going to be very happy. And I just like to make my students blush. So this robot, I'm not going to talk about my talk because we're out of time, but I'm going to describe this robot. This robot is a robotic companion that's supposed to make people less aggressive towards each other. And this is a unique kind of robot because you're not supposed to interact with the robot at all. You're just supposed to have this robot around, and this robot is supposed to express something that might be hard for you as a person to express. So I know that none of you have experienced this, but some people have sometimes argument with their partners. I know your relationship is perfect, but mine sometimes has this thing where I have an argument, and we want to see whether a robot, I'm not going to do this. You can leave this on, just as it's a nice illustration. We wanted to see whether a robot that is sensitive to people shouting might make people shout less at each other. And this is a study we're running right now in our lab. We're starting with couples, with men and women who are in a relationship. And the next step is going to be Jewish Israelis from the left and the right. This robot is sort of like, it has different emotional states. It's in a calm state when people are just talking nicely to each other. If the conversation starts going on, the robot gets curious and leans towards people who are talking and tries to sort of listen into the conversation. But if suddenly one of them raises their voice, the robot gets scared and shy and shivers. This is what we call a robotic companion, but I think one of the things we raised in one of our panels about the robots in society is how do we think about robots at all? And I suggested there's 3 interesting ways to think about robots. One of them is to think about them as pets, one of them is to think about them as slaves, and one of them is to think about them as companions. And I think that each one of these metaphors brings up a very different way for us to think about a robot. Well, what do we think about when we think about a pet? Let's ask you. Does anybody have pets? Who has a pet? Who has a pet? How do we relate to our pets? If we have robots and we think about them as pets, what does this mean? It comes to you. We understand them even though they're not human. Over. Let's leave the demo. We'll do the demo is running in the maker space, so if you want to come see the robot, you can come see it there. And I think I'm out of time, right? And I've been told that I don't have any, that I have 0 minutes. I'll just keep going.
Thank you to all the makers here for a great session.